Hello, and welcome to Sideways. This week, we're talking about the idea that we develop about ourselves, what it is, or at least what we mean when we describe it, and how to manage it. We also cover indoor shoes, reasons we got the cane at school, Sigmund Freud, social media, and scrap metal. Ego. Hello.
Hello. How are you doing?
That was an interesting hello. It was like the sort of hello you would get at the beginning of a children's television programme.
Sort of a Tony Robinson sort of vibe to it, wasn't it?
More Tony Hart, more Floella Benjamin, I would have thought.
I'm happy with any of those.
Mm. How are you?
I'm all right, actually. Yeah, how about you?
I'm all right. You've got your earphones in today. You look like you're a businessman on a Zoom call.
Well, I'm just trying. I can't really hear what I'm saying particularly well, but
I always find that to be an upside. If you can't hear what you say.
Well, quite, yeah, for you, yes, but for me, I find it a bit disconcerting because what I say is generally very interesting.
Well, discomfort's good for you, isn't it?
It is good for me.
Yeah,
it is good for me. No, I don't like doing this recording late on after I've been to work all day, feeling all fatigued.
Yeah, because you're getting on now, aren't you?
I know, yeah. Yeah.
Happy birthday for Sunday.
Thank you very much. Well, it was it's very nice of your present to go down to the theatre the other day where we went to watch Derren Brown, didn't we?
We did. I can't remember anything about it now. I've been hypnotised.
Hypnotised out of it, yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, he told us not to tell anyone what was going on in case someone else wanted to go along and not to spoil the show.
Yeah, but I haven't told anyone.
No, I haven't either.
Huh.
Well, when I say no one, only a few people. But it was on that journey down there where we was having a discussion in the car about what we're going to be recording for this week, the subject matter, if you remember rightly.
Well, I had to ask you, didn't I, what we were recording, because I think what happened is probably in all of the hypnosis, I probably temporarily lost the subject matter. But when you told me, it all came flooding back to me.
Yeah, well, yeah, you can't really blame Derren Brown for that because it happens quite regularly when we've already discussed it. Then a day before we're due to record, say, what was it we're talking about? So,
yeah,
you can hang on that excuse if you like, but it's pretty flimsy.
Well, I like to think of it a slightly different way. The way I like to think of it is that in the early days, I never used to ask you anyway what we were talking about. No, you just used to tell me. So in a sense, I'm just reverting to type when I sort of conveniently forget the subject matter.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Well, nicely avoided. Anyway, because you advised me that on that trip when we were discussing about it, you said, "Well, we all have an ego."
Yeah.
And you said, if you're going to do some research on this, don't dig too deep. It's a very complex area, and we couldn't do justice to it in this format, and it would possibly be very boring.
Yep.
But, I'm an addict, and so if you advise me not to do it, of course I'm going to go in and dig deep. But you were right. Yeah. So I retreated a little bit sharpish, I've got to say.
Good, because when you said that you wanted to do an episode on ego, I hoped that what you meant was our kind of, in the sort of loose sense of the way we feel about ourselves and our kind of self-importance.
Yeah, that is it. That was it. But before we start, before we go down that route, before we get into the meat of the subject.
I expect you've got a couple of obituaries this week, haven't you?
Well, I've got one. One obituary, but I wanted to talk about Paul Merson, who appeared in our Addicts Football 11, if you remember rightly.
I remember very well, yeah.
Yeah, he seems to have got a little bit of a profile at the moment because he's promoting his book called Hooked. And you sent me a link to a Radio 4 program that he was on, which I found very interesting. But I'd previously seen him a couple of days beforehand on Good Morning Britain, and he was talking about his lapse during lockdown into his gambling addiction, which is one of his main addictions, alongside obviously the drink and the drugs, which have taken their toll. But gambling seemed to be his major problem, his major issue.
His go-to, as it were.
His go-to, yeah, it was his go-to problematic area. But he cited boredom as the reason he lapsed or he relapsed. And it was It's that comes up so often in groups where people come back to groups with their tail between their legs and we haven't seen them for a while, and boredom seems to be a real trigger. And for him, he said it's always because he's always maintained or struggled to maintain a balanced lifestyle since he's given up football, even though his problems were obviously there during his playing career. Now he finds it quite difficult. Those extreme highs and the counteracted by the crushing lows that he used to feel during his football career. He's never really had a balanced emotional lifestyle at all. And he still struggles with that now. And so during lockdown, he did start to get a bit of stability, but he found that really boring.
He should have played for West Ham. Then he wouldn't have experienced that sort of seesawing. He'd just have had crushing lows all the time, wouldn't he?
He would, yeah.
Like the rest of us.
Well, yeah. Well, yes. He should know better, shouldn't he? Really, than to blame that.
Yeah. But did you think that? I mean, to me as a layman, in terms of addictive behaviour, it makes sense that boredom would lead you back into a behavioural addiction like gambling.
Yeah.
But I imagine it also leads people back to their drink and drugs.
Yeah,
it's just like a big open space, and you think, what can I put in here? I know I'll have a drink.
It takes a long time to settle down and to not, and not to try and alter your mind at every given opportunity.
Yeah.
So boredom certainly is a major factor we have to be constantly aware of.
Have we ever done an episode on boredom?
I don't think we have.
Oh, we should do.
I think it's inextricably linked throughout all our episodes, isn't it? We bore people with what we're talking about, so that people experience it.
We could do an episode on boredom and try even harder than we usually try to be boring.
Yeah, well, it come very naturally to me. I'm quite happy with that.
I'm glad you pointed that out before I had a chance to.
But Paul Merson was also saying that he reminded me of an old saying that we have in recovery about your worst day in recovery being 100 times better than your best day in addiction. And he sort of cited that in not quite the same way, but he said his wife had reminded him of that when he was going through this troublesome period, and he's managed to get himself back into remission, as I call it.
Don't you think, though, a phrase like that? I've heard that phrase before. You've probably used it before.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm a bit cynical, but it seems to me that a phrase like that only resonates when you're already feeling reasonably strong in your recovery. It's like that classic sort of, we can all find emotional resilience when we don't need it. It's when we need the emotional resilience that we struggle. If you're tempted to lapse, for example, does someone reciting that phrase to you stop you lapsing?
No. If you're already feeling pretty poor about yourself, but if you've experienced it, if you've gone through a series of lapses, you know that there are better days, and you will know you'll have a reference point for that, certainly. But at the time when you have lapsed, then nothing would drag you back to a better feeling just by using that phrase. But it is used in retrospect and hindsight. You're right, and that it does fall better at that stage. Yeah.
So maybe it strengthens a burgeoning recovery rather than prevents a lapse.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's not a motivation because you again, you haven't got a reference point at the start. So, but once you've tasted it, I know that is a fact now.
Have you got it on a mug?
Do. It would sit nicely on there, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Or a poster on your wall. It's good, but it did remind me when he was talking about that of so many conversations we've had over the years in groups. But also the obituary part of this seems to have become a little bit too often now is poor old Jimmy Greaves.
Yeah, people keep dying, don't they, in that?
They do. And we're mentioning him because he was also one of our Addicts 11.
He was.
But he's made it into his early 80s. And he was obviously one of the most gifted footballers of a generation. And I was very lucky enough to see my first ever game for West Ham. Was his last ever game for West Ham. So I just managed to see him before he shuffled off and played a few games elsewhere in America and that sort of thing.
That really does age you.
It does. He wasn't at his best, for sure, but it's still nice to have seen him.
Yeah.
Anyway, ego. I don't think Jimmy Greaves had a particular big ego.
What do you think? I bet he did. I bet all footballers do, don't you?
I think to a certain extent you've got to have one to succeed, probably. When you look at ego, I've always used it as a pejorative term.
Have you?
But I have. Yeah,
wow.
Say, he's got an ego. What I mean,
right?
What I've meant really,
ego.
Exactly, and
rather than the acceptance that we've all got an ego,
which I didn't know really, or didn't really think about until you pointed that out the other day.
Well, I was pleased to hear that you didn't go and research Freudian theory on the subject of ego.
Well, no, I didn't, but I'll touch on it just in a moment. But
Great.
Well, when you Google ego, you can imagine all the things that come up. I mean, there's a vast range of things, from a video game engine developed by Codemasters, that's called Ego, to a defunct online magazine for Indian Americans, which has got a good one, called Ego, to Ego footwear. And I know you like a nice, comfy espadrille.
But I definitely don't.
But one of their range that I think would suit you was advertised as a quilted double-strap dad sandal in black faux leather. Now, that is a bit of you. That is a bit of you. It's one step away.
Says the man who's got some indoor shoes.
I think that's what I've described there. Is just one small step away from a wafty old croc, which you love, don't you?
Well, I think you'll find that Crocs are back in this year.
Are they?
Yeah, I've been wearing mine all the years that they weren't in. That's what I do. I sort of hang on to something and eventually know it'll come back into fashion.
Well, as you can see by those flares you wear up and down the street. but going back to talking about ego, and me not really knowing that we all had one, look, again, in the research, it does say that it's the Latin word for I.
Exactly.
And it is one of the three constructs of Sigmund Freud's structural model of the psyche.
Go on.
Yeah. No, that's as deep as I want to go. But it's just Sigmund Freud. I mean, he introduced the word.
Is that as deep as you want to go?
Pretty much. I'll tell. Because it does. I mean, it's. He introduced the word into the vocabulary, didn't he? He made the word up. So I had to mention him on a very small level, really, because it would be wrong to do this without giving him a bit of a. Was about doffing my cap towards the lad. Is that
the limit of your reference to him?
It is really, yes.
Good, because in an effort to stop you from going down that path, I thought I'd read everyone a short excerpt from a book that I have called Psychology and Freudian Theory, which I had to read when I was studying.
You therapists do love a bit of Freud, so yeah, crack on.
I'll just read you a bit of the first paragraph. Entitled "The Ego." Right, you ready?
Okay.
There are two controlling aspects of the mind, of which the ego is one. This is the control based upon the reality principle or secondary process thinking. The ego is in contact with the outer world, the conscious part at least, for there are unconscious ego processes, which I shall describe later. Is that enough? Are you bored yet?
Yes, I am. I started to drift off, mate.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why I didn't want you to go down that road.
So, yeah, well, and you were right to point that out to me. You really were. But yeah, going back to the actual basis of how you and I want to talk about it means one's sense of self-worth, doesn't it?
Well, that's how we use it in common parlance, isn't it?
It is.
When we think about our ego, we think about what we think of ourselves. That's how typically people understand the word ego. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think it's our identity, or who we believe we are? Is that part of ego? Do you think?
I don't think that's the way we think of it when we use ego. As you were saying earlier on, if you say, oh, he's got a bit of an ego, or she's got a big ego, or whatever, I don't think we're thinking necessarily of identity. I think even that is a bit deeper than what we're kind of striking at.
Yeah. I mean, it can be seen as not a bad thing from what you're saying. It's simply a very sort of delicate thing. In fact, in my notes, I've put cane be seen as a bad thing. The cane was a bad thing. I got a couple of thrashings at school and I didn't like it.
I got a thrashing once for I might have spoken about this before on the podcast. But if you were, I was at junior school at the time. If you were, so what would I have been? Maybe 9, 10. If you went into the toilets and there was a plastic beaker sitting in one of the urinals, what would you do? You'd try and fill it up with your wee, wouldn't you?
Well, that's one option, mate. I don't know.
Of course you. Come on, if you're a child and there's an empty beaker sitting in a urinal and you're having a
urinal,
wee,
yes, you're right.
Piss in it, aren't you?
Of course, yeah. Oh,
right.
yeah, no, definitely. Especially if it's standing upright, yeah.
It was standing upright. It was standing upright.
Yeah,
so I did that, and somebody else he'll remain nameless. I remember his name even today. I see him around sometimes. Still hate him. He went and told the headmaster that I'd weed in a cup in the toilets, and the headmaster thrashed me.
Thrashed you for it. I mean, that's outrageous. I mean, that's proper grassing up for no real reason. There's no advantage.
I hated the headmaster. I hated the headmaster for it as well. He's dead now, so karma.
Yeah, it's probably the same headmaster that thrashed me then, because I was caught running. Again, it was toilet related. It was in the toilets. There used to be a row of sinks next to each other in the toilets there. And we used to get on the first one and run along them and then run back along them. You know, it was quite a tricky test. We always used to do it as a bit of a game. And on one occasion, it was my turn. I had to go. I ran along them, and as I ran back, the headmaster was standing at the end of this row of. He said, "Can you come?" He just said, "Let's go and have a talk about this." And I got 6 of the best for it, which didn't like it.
Where were you caned? Were you caned on your bottom or on your hand?
No, on my hand. On my hands, three on each hand.
Was this at Eastborough?
No, it was at Vinters.
Oh, well, you see, they were different headmasters. But to be honest, I think your crime was much worse than mine.
Yeah, it was. I suppose.
So I feel even worse about it now.
Should we move on from that then?
Yeah, go on.
Okay. So, going back to ego. I was talking. It's strange because I was talking to someone about our podcast today, and they said, "What's your next one on?" And I said, "Well, we'll be recording one on ego," and we're having a quick chat about it. And he was saying that it's the inflated sense of ego, isn't it, that causes issues with other people. People see it as conceit, and it can make them a pretty unpleasant sort of person to be around. And I thought, that's pretty good summing up, really, when it has been inflated.
Well, that's an interesting thing because it kind of raises another issue, which is, although it's not Freudian, it is Jungian, and Jung was a contemporary of Freud. So if you can think of someone, and anybody listening can do this, we don't often have these little exercises, do we?
No,
if you think if you think of someone in your life that you don't really like very much, I'm thinking of you. And then you are so someone you don't get on with for whatever reason. If you then ask yourself, what is it about them I don't really like? Some of you will be thinking, I don't like that person because they've got a very inflated ego, right? So they seem very sure of themselves, always, seem to be very blown up about their own importance.
Yeah.
Jung would have said that is an indication of what it is that lives in your own shadow, so that person that you don't like is telling you something about yourself. So, for example, if you are thinking of someone that you feel is a bit arrogant and overblown, it might be telling you that you don't show enough confidence, that you're not assertive enough, that you're too far at the other end of that particular extreme. How about that?
Yeah, well, that's a good theory, and it's one that you obviously hold as a truth.
I think it's pretty accurate. I reckon most people, if I'm working with them and we have that conversation, we can usually find something in the person that they're thinking about that does illustrate something about them. And the reason, I'll tell you the reason I think that's important is because if you can kind of accept that is what's going on, it depersonalizes the situation. And it's particularly important if we don't really understand why we've taken against someone. We think, well, I don't really know that person, but I really don't like them.
Yeah.
And if you can illustrate to someone, well, the reason you don't like them is because you're seeing something in yourself in them. It's not about them. It's a red herring that you think it's them. It's actually that they are showing you, they're a mirror for you. They're showing you something that you need either to develop in yourself or sometimes it's something that you fear in yourself. You might fear that you too are a little bit arrogant, and that's why you don't like someone who's very arrogant.
Okay. I'll have to think about that. Now, I know some people that I think have an inflated or perhaps a subject to a bit of egotism, which is what I wanted to lead on to now, which is...
Well, for you, if you're thinking of people like that, then that does, in a sense, prove the theory, because you, on this very podcast, have often talked about how in the past you've struggled with your own sense of self, feeling like you're enough, that you're good enough. So if you see someone who's very, very cocksure, the likelihood is that will rankle with you.
Right, okay.
Because, and part of that is likely to be the fact that you recognise that they are the kind of inverse of you.
Yeah.
£65, please.
Okay. Okay, I'll send that over. But I think you're just getting a little bit too big for your boots, aren't you, with that sort of charging structure? But it does. I mean, it gets complicated when you're looking at egotism and looking at the definitions of it. Then it talks about, again, not wanting to go into it in any depth, because it would be very boring. But it comes to someone who's an egotist, and then an egoist, and someone who's egocentric. All sorts of words that can be thrown about that all have slightly different meanings. It's not. They're nuanced. And so, I sort of gave up when I started to read all that. But no, this is way too deep for what we want to talk about.
They are, but they're all essentially about they're all about the sense of yourself, your idea of yourself, your focus on yourself, the extent to which your own importance is influencing your behaviours and your thoughts, and so on. So. Yeah, you're right. There are subtle differences, but they're... Yeah.
So if you are irritated by someone that seems to have a really high opinion of themselves, is it always down upon you then, the way you view them? Or, I mean, if a person or several people that I know perhaps, and other people have said that they've got the same sort of issues that I see in them, is that... No. Is that really just down to my own self-analysis still that I'm...
No, I'm not suggesting it's uniquely that there's no other aspect to it. I mean, sometimes we just take against people. We just don't get on with them. That's perfectly okay. What I'm driving at here is that it's useful in a situation like that. I mean, for instance, if you know someone like that and you have to be around them, let's say you work with them, for example, or you run a podcast with them. That's exactly where I'm going with that one. Yeah. If you're around people like that and you find it difficult because there's no way of kind of escaping that, it's kind of productive. It's useful to understand for yourself whether, in addition to the fact that perhaps they're not your favorite person, maybe it is telling you something about yourself. I mean, it might not be, but so that's the reason that I float it. It's not that it's all about what it tells you about you, but it's quite useful if we can get something positive from it. And as I said before, I'm thinking specifically of people that we take against and we don't really understand why we take against them.
Yeah.
It does happen often, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. Yeah, it does. Yes, it's just something about them that you can't put a finger on. Yeah,
that's the phrase. When you hear yourself saying, it's just something about him or her that I can't.
Yeah.
To me, that's a likely indication that it's about you then, mate. It isn't about them. Because otherwise, what is it? What's going on there?
When you look up quotes about ego, that's all. Every quote is about inflated ego. It's not about ego, about what we're talking about here. It is all about inflated. For example, I'm going to go back to our old friend Mahatma Gandhi, who we seem to refer to quite a lot. He says, when the ego dies, the soul awakes.
Yeah, okay. That's about you getting out of your own way, really.
Is it? Right, okay.
Well, I think so. I think that's about once you stop being so obsessed with who you are and your own importance, then it's much easier to be able to kind of feel the world in all of its rich tapestry of colours. Yeah. When you feel like if you feel like you are the most important aspect of the world, then obviously you're going to miss everything around you, aren't you? Because you're kind of filtering everything that happens in a way that means that you're only thinking about how it affects you. Okay, so that's happened or there's that stimulus, but what about me? So in a sense, it's like you're kind of covering your eyes by never being able to see past yourself. I think that's what that means.
Oh, does it? Right. Okay. Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Might not.
Yeah. No. Well, that's your interpretation.
Who said it?
That was our old friend Mahatma.
Oh well, I probably am right then, because his name's virtually the same as mine.
Exactly.
Mahatma Gandhi.
It was. Yeah. You are as one. But there's another quote that came along. It's not attributed to anyone, but it says if someone corrects you and you feel offended, then you have an ego problem. Do you agree with that?
Right. I wouldn't say that's an ego problem. I would say that is your ego in action, because if you look at the mechanics of that, if someone corrects you, then they've actually done something that's helpful, haven't they? I mean, obviously, if someone corrects you in a nasty, teasing, poking, fun,
vindictive.
Way, yeah, that's more difficult. But if someone says, actually, that's not right, you really need to do it like this, or that's the right way to do it. To be offended by that is going back to what we were talking about before, which is you're kind of letting your own importance get in the way.
Gotcha.
That would be it's like rather than saying thanks, I appreciate the guidance, you're feeling bruised because you didn't want to be wrong.
Yeah.
And if you have a problem with accepting that you're wrong, then that is your ego getting in your way. That is your sense of your own importance, the fragility, if you like, of your ego that stops you from saying, yeah, I'm human. I'm going to, mess stuff up. And that's just who I am.
The way it is. Yeah. We're going back to what we were talking about earlier on. It's a delicate thing. But when you look at the further research on how to control your ego, so to control this, if it is inflated and out of hand, which, I mean, is it easy to spot in yourself? I suppose other people would point it out to you, wouldn't they? Well,
yeah, it's probably easier for other people to see it, I suspect.
Yeah.
It's a bit meta, isn't it, to notice it in yourself, because the fact that your ego is inflated probably is the very thing that prevent you from seeing it. If you think about what the ultimate destination is in inflated ego, it's narcissism.
Yes. Yeah.
If you're a narcissist, you don't believe you've done anything wrong. You think it's everybody else. So your ability to recognize that your ego is inflated is, it's compromised, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. So is it, if you take things too personally, could that be a sign of an inflated ego? Or if you don't accept your mistakes, you'll just throw them back and try and hide from them or not admit them?
Well, that's quite an interesting one, isn't it? Because if you take things personally, you could look at that from the other end of the spectrum, couldn't you? So if someone says to you, I can't think of an example now, but I've known people, I've worked with people, I probably still work with people who, if you say, this, I'm upset about this or something, they will immediately wonder what it is that they've done to cause it. Their assumption will be, I've done that, haven't I? I've upset you, or that's kind of the opposite problem, isn't it? That's almost like not having a strong enough sense of yourself.
Yeah.
Always believing that you must be the problem, that you're the issue. Whereas finding it difficult to accept that you've made mistakes, I think that is that's an ego problem, isn't it? It's like I can't countenance the idea that I've made a mistake because my ego won't tolerate it.
So do you think your ego would stop you being afraid of looking silly, or if you are afraid of looking silly, it's your ego that's stopping you doing things, or perhaps experimenting because you think you're going to look silly? Yes,
I'm sure that certainly is a role it can play. That's a kind of image self-preservation thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did you have something in mind? You can do something silly, or you're worried about it?
Not at all. No, but it came up again as one of the on how to control your ego. And I was looking at on the research. It says stop being afraid of looking silly, and to know that ego never dies it just needs constant attention to control it.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. Actually, I think that's I suppose a manifestation of the statement, don't take yourself too seriously.
Yeah.
When you take yourself too seriously, that is ego, isn't it? Whereas if you allow yourself to look a bit ridiculous, I can think of lots of people that I've worked with over the years who are they feel as if their value is so intrinsically linked to what they achieve that they can never do anything unless they're good at it. Yeah.
And I think that leads on to the next point, really, is to know that you can't be the best at everything. Understand your limitations. You're not going to be, you're going to have certain areas you're probably going to be pretty good at or okay at, but you can't be good at everything. So let that go. Yeah.
And as I say, some people's response to that reality is that's okay. I just won't do the things I'm not very good at. And that's okay. But in a way, you do limit your ability to recognise that you can really suck at something and still be okay.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would argue with this, and there'll be people listening that would argue with this, but actually it can be really freeing and enjoyable to do something you're terrible at just for the sake of doing it, just to enjoy it,
Well, yeah, I'm sure. No, I'm sure that's probably true. I mean, I think we talked about it last week, and we talked about it in the past about your artwork, where you had a crack at it, and that's what it was all about, wasn't it?
Yeah, I said I was talking about things that you're terrible at, though. Unlike my artwork, which obviously I'm very, very good at.
Oh, sorry. Yes, that's right. Yeah, I think your ego is coming into play here somewhere.
No, actually, that is an excellent. It's exactly the sort of thing I had in mind.
Yeah.
So for me, and as I've said before, art, whether it be painting or I'll get the pastels out or the pencils, I've got no idea what I'm doing, but I just really enjoy it. I love it.
Yeah.
And by any sort of measure of standard, I am appalling. But it doesn't matter, does it? It's not for anyone else. It's for me.
Well, exactly. And just moving on from that, it's again we're looking at how to control your ego. It says here, stop bragging, which I think people that brag, I think those are the people that upset us most. Mm-hmm. When people use social media to brag, especially, I find it really irritating. But again, perhaps you're saying, if perhaps Jung is saying it's something about me, rather than their bragging is it's not their problem, it's my problem in how I receive it.
The shadow thing is about you finding it intolerable because perhaps you don't speak highly enough of yourself.
Oh, okay.
So if you see someone bragging about stuff and you think, oh, God, you're an insufferable arsehole, just shut up about it. On the one hand, you're probably right. That person probably is. But the thing that it might be saying about you, because you find it so annoying, is that you might have a tendency not to big yourself up enough. And I'd say that's true. When you do something. So, for instance, if you do a piece of artwork, I mean, you are quite good at art. I have to accept that. But you will notice all the flaws in it.
Yeah, sure.
So you won't finish it and say, actually, that's good. By any measure, that's a good piece of art. I don't hear you saying that because firstly, that would sound to you like bragging, even though it's just the truth. And secondly, you're much more likely to point out the things that are wrong with something that you've done rather than take a kind of balanced view. So it's like that's the antithesis of someone who says they're brilliant when really they're shocking.
Okay. Here I am at that end of the scale, certainly. Yes, it's very rare. I'll do a piece of art and think that's good and would tell people about it, that's for sure.
But we kind of live in a culture that massages ego, don't we, with kind of social media.
Yeah, very much.
Social media is all about ego. That's all it's about.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. I think social media, it's we mention it so often, and it's often in very negative terms. We've got to be really careful about it, haven't we? It is something which has come along. I mean, when you and I were children, it wasn't an issue.
Computers, were they?
No, they weren't. And things have moved on. Social media does have some good aspects to it, but we constantly seem to be finding issues with it and problems with it.
I don't think we've spoken about this, but certainly in the last maybe 2 or 3, 4 months, I've backed right off my use of social media. I hardly ever post anything on Facebook. I don't really use Instagram anymore much. I hardly ever go on Twitter. The only reason I keep my accounts open are for my kind of professional accounts, and I feel better for it. I don't get caught up in all of that. I used to be scrolling through stuff like Twitter and Facebook, and I'd be bombarded by insufferable ego.
Yeah.
And I think my life's richer without it. And so that's why I try and avoid it.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think it's using it in a balanced way. There are some good bits to it, and it can be quite useful. But really, the last thing on the list here about how to control your ego is to be thankful for the little things you have, which you often put down on a sort of a gratitude list.
That's two good segues you've done in 2 consecutive weeks, because I didn't see that one coming.
Yeah, well, yes, it's I've done a bit of work on my segues.
Oh, that's very good. It's very good. Yeah. So is that where we're going now then?
I think so. If you're happy with that, unless there's anything else you wanted, we've scouted around the potential pitfalls of going too deeply into ego. I think so. Yeah, I think we've done all right.
Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah. Okay. So you should go first this week, I think.
Oh, okay. It's pretty easy for me this week. It's the kindness shown for so many people, and the messages and the cards and the presents I've had for my birthday. It's been quite overwhelming, really. The responses. It's just been lovely.
Do you have a tear in your eye?
I did. I was talking to Lizzie, my youngest, who had sent me this card, and she'd written some stuff in it, which made me tearful. Yeah, it's so lovely.
I think everyone should be tearful on their birthday.
Yeah. No, it's lovely.
Because I think you're right. Birthdays are, I'm not a fan of anything prescriptive in terms of, well, not really of anything apart from drugs. But if there is ever a day to count your blessings and be grateful, it is a birthday.
I think so, and I think it's. I've reached now a point where I'm older than my dad. My dad didn't get to where I've got to. Yeah. So that's quite poignant as well.
Yeah, I mean, you are an elderly gentleman now, aren't you?
Yes, I am, and I'm quite happy with that. I'm quite settled with the way I feel about it all.
Will you be buying some slip-on shoes?
I won't be going down that route, and I won't be getting any Crocs. That's for sure.
Very good.
Anyway, it's down to the choosing of on your list of 17.
Yeah. I might have added a couple since. Whenever I think of something, I add it. So.
Oh, okay. Well, right. So anyway, I won't get on to those then because I've only got to number 17 on my list.
Mm-hmm. So, that's all right. I take things off, don't I?
Oh, right. Okay. Right. Number 3 then I wanted to choose for you this week.
Okay. Oh, that's a nice one. Okay. So number 3 is secondhand bookshops.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so you like that as well?
Yeah.
Right. So I love books. Probably got books on here somewhere. Anyway, but there is something about losing yourself in a secondhand bookshop. There's a really lovely one in Tunbridge Wells. Do you know the one I mean? Just on the Pantiles there?
Yeah.
All the Pantiles on the corner.
I can't bring it to mind, no.
Well, as much as I love a bookshop, I love any bookshop. But the thing about a secondhand bookshop is you never know when you're going to come across a real kind of treasure, something, not something you've been looking for, but something that just really appeals to you and calls to you from a dusty old shelf. And the smell of a secondhand bookshop.
Yeah. It's unique. You're right.
And the third thing that's great about secondhand bookshops are almost inevitably the people who run them. Because you don't run a secondhand bookshop unless you love and know a lot about books.
True. But you're right. If it's a dedicated secondhand bookshop, as opposed to perhaps the charity ones. I know Oxfam have some charity shops that are devoted entirely to books. Yeah. But probably more run by volunteers for the charity rather than someone that has a real interest. I agree.
Yeah. Yes. A bibliophile, I think they call them, wouldn't you?
Well, you would.
Yeah.
And
so secondhand bookshops, which I would have loved before lockdown, but since lockdown, I don't think I've been in that, certainly not that secondhand bookshop for probably 2 years now. And so I'm very much looking forward to going back there at some point.
And going on to the Spotify search for this week, Ego, loads of stuff on there.
Yeah, must be.
There's an Icelandic band called Ego.
I quite like that as a band name, actually, Ego.
Yeah.
I suppose they're death metal, are they?
It doesn't say. I didn't really research it that much more. Just there's one there. But there's an album called Ego by a German band called Oomph. Like
you might see in a comic strip, Wizard and
exactly.
Yeah.
OOMPH with an exclamation mark of it after it. That's all you need, isn't it?
Oomph. Oomph. You imagine back in the day going to the Challenger and Hicks or the Long Player and saying, "Have you got the new album by Oomph?"
But yeah, Ego. There's a song called Ego there's one by Beyonce, Elton John, Kim Wilde, The Saturdays. They all do the one called Good Ego.
They all sound shocking.
They're all shocking, but the one I've put on the list for this week is one just called Ego, but it's by Rag and Bone Man.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Now, I'm a big fan of Rag and Bone Man. I don't know if you are or not, but I do like his stuff. I think he's got quite unique.
Well, I like his voice. I can't say I'm terribly familiar with his back catalogue.
No, but the ones I've heard, I mean, he's had some success chart-wise, and I've got a respect for the lad. So yeah, he's on there for this week.
He does well, doesn't he? Holding down a kind of significant music career whilst being a Rag and Bone Man.
Because they were a Rag and Bone Man. We're all over the show. When we were kids, we always used to hear the Rag and Bone Man coming along the street shouting out, "Iron!" like that.
Yeah.
When you take your old stuff out. Yeah.
I'm sure you did. Now they drive around in vans, don't they?
Yeah, just go nick stuff off your doorstep these days. Don't wait for you to pop it on the back of their, in a gentlemanly fashion, onto the back of their low loader. No, they nick your bikes and all sorts of stuff. In fact, we were doing a job where we had to take a couple of radiators out of the way so we could decorate behind them. Just pop them out the front there, and there's a bloke walking down the pathway. He's going to have them away. That would have been a disgrace if they'd have just disappeared. And we went to put them back on, and they just say to them, "Oh, sorry, your radiators have been nicked." But there we go. So that's me just about done, mate.
All right. See you later.
Cheers, then, mate.
Later.
Bye.
Bye. Sideways was created by Graham Landy and Martin Pankhurst. If you want to read more about our work or sort through the extensive archive of past episodes, just visit grahamlandywellbeing.co.uk/sideways-podcast. You can follow us on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram at Sideways Podcast, and you can email us if you have a question or if there's something you'd like us to cover. But most of all, we want to tell you how grateful we are that you come and listen, and we ask that if you've enjoyed what you've heard, that you spread the word. And we'll see you next week.